UCR, what's your favorite scary movie?
A big hello out there to all of the alumni of Woodsboro High. We are convening again. This is a first. I was going through our playlists today on YouTube, and in 60 plus shows, PS, that we've done, this is the first time that we will have talked about a movie twice, done 2 full shows about it before it is released. We thought that we would have to jump on this straight away because things got real crazy real quick last week. Obviously, we have our trio of terror here, the lovely Kate McCarthy and luscious Luke, and we are here to talk about Scream 7's killer cast update. Now, Scream 7 is in production. We all know that, and the cast is growing rapidly. We were about to do a live show for UCR Live when a bit of news dropped, and it was stunning news, to say the least, that Scott Foley, aka Roman Bridger, Sidney Prescott's half-brother, had been contracted to appear in Scream 7. And the internet started to mildly lose its mind. And we're like, cool, that was not something I saw happening. But little did we know that mere hours later,
hold my beer,
genre fans all over, Scream fans all over, would be taken to another level when it was officially announced. Matthew Lillard is also returning to Scream 30 years after the original film. Now, before we go into too much reactions, people?
I was doom scrolling on TikTok, and I follow Matthew Lillard, and he was writing out his famous line. My mom and dad are going to be done. I'm like, why is he doing that? Like, I love it. It's great. But why is he doing that? Then I go look elsewhere, and it's confirmed Matthew Lillard has been cast for Scream 7, and it took everything in me not to just scream. I was so literally scream. So excited.
It happened at a really weird time of day as well, and like really close to the Scott Foley announcement. Like usually they drip feed these things, and it just happened, right, Luke? Like it was like,
oh, look, I find I'm taken aback by the whole thing, but I also think like they wouldn't. I guess this will be the conversation we have, but they wouldn't announce these things unless there's a huge twist involved, right? Like, it's strange. Yeah, I think it's strange that they're announcing his names, and then people are saying now that, like, what's her name? Jill from Part 4. Emma Roberts, that one. Yeah, she might be signed too. So, so it's kind of like, what are they doing? What are they doing? Because obviously they're all dead at some point.
Well, I don't know. Because if Chad can survive getting stabbed like that, anything's possible at this point.
Well, so let's rewind, okay? The first special that we did on Scream 7 was all about the Melissa Barrera drama and, Sam and her sister not returning for Scream 7. And Nev Campbell signing up, and being ready to go. And then bit by bit, we've had casts come through. Like, it took a while for Courtney to be locked in. But once she came in, and then we were getting all of this information, we got Mason Gooding Jr. back in really late in the piece. We got Jasmine Savoy Brown back in. So we have those ties to 5 and 6. We have a huge new cast. This, if anything, this movie is going to be a bloodbath because the cast is huge. Like, I can't. I'll go through the list. So as I said, we have our returning stars: Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, Mason Gooding, Jasmine Savoy Brown, now Matthew Lillard, and Scott Foley. But also we have Isabel May, Celeste O'Connor, Asa German, McKenna Gray, Sam Reacher, Anna Camp, and Joel McHale.
Don't forget Patrick Dempsey. Didn't he sign on?
No, Patrick Dempsey is gone. Patrick Dempsey was in negotiations. So Joel McHale, this is the first This was the first movie that we're not going to get the movie we think we're going to get because Joel McHale is playing Sydney's husband.
I was wondering how that was going to work when Patrick
also
Dempsey
Mark,
was
but
involved.
they just changed the surname, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Instantly, I didn't realize Patrick Dempsey had dropped out. This is upsetting to me. My country is on fire.
Signed. It was in negotiations, but I feel like Patrick Dempsey may have commitments to Thanksgiving too, because that's due out this year. So
yeah, I know, but come on, that was beautiful.
Well, look, and the thing is, right? Everyone's just assumed because the character name Mark got dropped that we assume it's Mark Kincaid from Scream 3. Doesn't mean it is.
Well,
I know
that's obviously who it was meant to be, and because of the problems or whatever, like negotiations.
My country's on fire. I need something to look forward to.
Now, I have tried because I have been successful since Scream 3. I didn't know any spoilers for Scream 3. I've been successfully avoiding spoilers for however many years. And
have you been successful at always guessing the killers?
Roman, no. Roman came out of nowhere. Roman Bridger, no.
I think the last 3 I've been pretty bad at guessing at. No, but I got 1 out of 3 for 6.
5, I got them, but outside of part 5, it was kind of.
There's always a surprise. I always find there's a surprise, which there's always your kind of obvious one, but there's always a surprise. But I have kind of, especially since filming has begun, anything that has Scream 7 in the title on social media, I just blank past because I don't want to know. I want to go in. I want to be surprised. The things I have heard. Now, we're going to talk nitty-gritty about the franchise and, storylines. Since Scream 3, there have been, whisperings and scripts and all that kind of stuff about Stu surviving. They've even referenced it in film now, more than once, that Stu could have survived the TV to the head. Obviously, Columbine changed a lot of what was happening with Scream 3 and we went the meta direction. I have heard rumors that that's where they're headed with this as well, but I don't think they're going to be actors. They've done the meta filmmaking version of Scream already. The other big rumor going around is that all of these killer characters, are going to be AI generated voices to torment Sydney.
Well, that'll be fine because I think it's kind of odd. Wouldn't Sydney be the first person to know, and wouldn't she be the most interested person to know that Stu actually wasn't dead after he tried to murder her?
Right.
I think it's
quite aware.
I think the voiceover thing is kind of, they've already done it really with Billy Loomis's line. And I think if they go that route again, it's like, well, we already did this. Let's try something else.
Which makes me think that there's a third option, and I want to talk about it a little bit in a second. But I think that the announcing of the cast, as Luke said, makes me feel like there's a twist coming. Definitely, because
absolutely
they would not reason you about Skeet was because somebody accidentally let it slip on social media. Skeet Ulrich wasn't announced in Scream 5 until it came out, and there was there were rumors that he was appearing.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas these ones have been officially announced, so which makes you think there has to be a huge twist associated with it because we don't want to go in expecting what we're going to expect now. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
it's
think
too well
Stu. Yeah, and Matthew Lillard is way too known
Mm-hmm.
to go into the movie and go, oh yeah, well he's in the movie and he's the killer. Like, it's not going to happen like that.
Right. And then there was talk that, they're just recast and they'll be completely different characters. And I think that's wrong because the demographic here, we'd be
The fan
told stuff
base.
like that. Right. You
The
can't
30-year fan base of this franchise.
Right. You
is
can't
smart
do
as
that. And they're too synonymous. Their characters are too big for you to just like throw them in there as Bob and Bob
Who
and Joe.
happens to look like someone's half brother.
Right. Oh shit. Could that be it? Could
No.
they be siblings? No,
No.
that'd be so stupid.
No,
I'd be
don't-
so mad.
No, I can't even.
I got myself
I
mad
can't even
already.
In a way, like with the twins, it feels like a really loose tie to like Randy. I'm just like, really, like, are they really Randy?
That was sloppy.
No,
Yeah.
I feel like what we're gonna get is go with me here. What I think we're gonna get is a redefinition of what a Scream film is. Because when we got Nev Campbell's announcement, and I've read another thing that they're saying that this film is a heavy character piece for Gail and Sydney. And there's been rumors for a long time that it's going to be dual storylines with Sydney and Gail doing something, and then Sydney's daughter or daughters dealing with Ghostface, etc., etc. So, here's my little thought. Did we watch, I think most of us, all of us, because we're horror fans, American Horror Story, season 2?
Yeah.
When
No.
we had...
Asylum?
Actually, I didn't watch season 2. I didn't watch
okay.
Asylum.
Okay, well, I did. So we're on the Asylum line. Okay.
Okay. So Lana was a reporter, and we saw, her go through her experience at the asylum, and then later she had a talk show and went on a talk show and recounted her life.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be that Gail and Sydney are discussing Sydney's life, etc., etc.? This is where a theory that I've heard is the reason we're seeing Roman and Stu is we're gonna see Maureen's murder through flashback.
Okay. That will
So,
be interesting.
What I'm saying is that Sydney and Gail are doing some kind of 60-minute sit-down talk interview, recounting all the trauma that Sydney's been through. While this is happening, Sydney's kids are dealing with Ghostface. The two storylines cross over at the end, because I don't think that the Meeks twins are going to make it out of this alive. I honestly don't think they're going to make it out of the first 15 minutes of the film.
I honestly don't think Gail and Sydney are going to make it. I think this is going to be the big finale. I think this is it.
I don't know. I don't think he can kill
Sydney
Sydney.
will.
I don't think he can kill
Sydney
Sydney
might.
at this point.
I don't know.
But Gail might be popped. Look, they've hinted at it at 6. I think.
Listen, I've been waiting for Gail to get popped. I said it should have been her over Dewey, and I stand by that.
I thought about all this as well, and since we talked about doing this show, my little brain has gone on conspiracy theory corner, left, right, and center.
All right, before we get deeper into the conspiracy theories, we need to talk about the motives, because that's going to give us a bigger insight.
Well, before
Okay.
we do the motives, let's go back and look at every single killer of Scream.
Oh my god, we're going to be here for 9 years.
Well,
Billy and Stu.
let's look at
Let's
Billy
Buttercup.
and Stu. So,
Yep.
Billy and Stu. Billy was the boyfriend. He hated Sydney because he blamed her for her mother's behavior, breaking up his family.
Yep.
So then he decided that it would be just quite fine to become her boyfriend and then fuck her life up.
And I think
there.
Stu was just along because he's in love with Billy.
Yeah, no, I think Stu's just real crazy. and a little bit like a
what he
bit
said.
unhinged. Yeah, like he was just happy to go along with it. But then obviously after that, then we had Mickey, who was a serial, like a nut.
Ricky Tarantino films, didn't
Yeah, that Debbie Saltz slash
Mrs.
Laurie
Lewis.
Metcalf slash Mrs. Loomis had
Still, to this day, one of my
sourced.
favorites. She's
And so
crazy.
she sort of got him going because probably, who knows, he probably didn't have the, initiative to get going and kill
Well, that's
people.
what she says. Remember, she found him
Yeah.
on the Future Serial Killers of America. She funded his training because she
Yeah.
had a job for him to do that she couldn't do by herself.
And he wanted to
there
be
you go.
famous. He was so
She
desperate to be known.
She needed some muscle. So then you had them, and then you had Roman. And so those first three films sort of tie into each other, obviously, because Roman then was like implicated to be involved in
The
the first
mastermind
movie.
and everything.
Yeah. Yep. And and then like Debbie Salt slash Mrs. Loomis was kind of rogue and getting revenge, but it all sort of ties into that first film where, like, was Roman there even? It was sort of implicated that he was maybe even there during the Drew Barrymore, Casey Becker murder. So,
which would make sense, it would make sense with the amount that Ghostface could get around that there was maybe an extra killer in there,
I wouldn't put it past Billy to find Roman and say, I'm real pissed at your sister, and him going, me too, dude.
Roman found, if you remember Scream 3, Roman found Billy. That's the whole reason that they decide, like, Roman found Billy and was like,
that's right,
let's get Maureen, because his big thing was revenge on Maureen Prescott. And
I should have watched it yesterday.
Revenge on Sydney, because
I'm not as
Sydney
fresh
had
on it as I thought.
Roman should have had. So this is where it gets confusing. So we get to 4, okay, which was meant to be the start of a new trilogy.
yes.
Yes.
With Emma Roberts.
The familiar bond with Jill, Sydney's cousin, being jealous of Sydney, not unlike Roman, and a random hanger-on, very Billy and Stu. Yeah,
very, very, very,
very Billy and Stu.
A lot of people don't like Emma Roberts as the killer. Like, a lot of the comment sections I'm reading, like, oh, she was the most garbage killer and whatever.
Okay, so
I actually found her reveal to be one of the most shocking because I never ever considered her as a killer at all.
So,
like, I thought she was a victim right up until that revelation, and I was like, oh.
So
like,
Steve and I were
it was a blind side for me.
Briefly talking about this, and we said how the original line of her kind of taking over as the new, like, Sydney doesn't really make sense because she's not strong enough to do it. Like, she can't carry a scene like Neve Campbell can. And I love Emma Roberts. I think she's a big old bitch, and I enjoy that energy very much so. But I thought her being a villain makes perfect sense because of that big bitch energy.
I'm going to disagree with you, Katie. I think she could have, and that's why it kind of worked, where I actually believe the whole setup that she was the new generation, and that's why it sort of blindsided me when she was one of the killers, because I actually believe that, like, she was where the franchise wanted to go now, because
it was. So we talked about this briefly as well, because Scream 4 was meant to be the start of a new trilogy, and Scream 5 would have picked up with Jill getting away with her crime spree. But how is that? This is where I would have had a real issue, because they would have had to either A, kill Sydney, or B, have her in a coma.
Right.
For her not to go, this bitch is crazy and she killed all her friends.
Right. And then the killer would either be Neve taking revenge, or it's someone who knows her big secret and is just kind of out to.
And and this was before, as Wes said on the Scream 4 director's commentary, there's a reason why we never saw Kirby's dead body, because he always intended to bring Kirby back in some way. The last time you see Kirby, she's clutching her stomach wound. She's still alive. She's bleeding.
Has Hayden Panettiere been announced for 7 yet? No.
No, and I just was thinking that.
We'll talk about that in a minute because there is news related to that that's a little bit old. So
okay,
let's now skip.
Hold on. One more thing about Emma Roberts.
Yep.
If they weren't going to, like, let's say they wanted to make her the next Sydney and they didn't want that killer aspect, I also think she doesn't work because she doesn't have that sweetness that Neve Campbell has. Sydney is a very empathetic character. You care about her. She cares about other people. I don't have that energy from Emma Roberts. She's just not nice. She's really.
And I think, well, look, part of that
it's funny though that Emma is sort of rumored now to be a part of the Stu and Roman, and Jill as sort of all being put together. There's a whole heap of stuff over social media that are saying that she's in as well. So there's something weird happening. But I do disagree with you, Katie. I do think that she did have. I think she had what it took to be the new Sydney. I actually did. I believed it when I watched Scream 4. I was quite happy to go down that path that they were what they were feeding us, that this was.
I was more happy for it from Kirby. I was like, oh, Kirby.
Right there. Kirby.
I love Kirby too. But I thought Kirby was gone. And you know what? Scream 5 had those little YouTube comment sections or whatever they showed where Kirby's alive.
All right, that's what we want to move on to now. We want to move on to Scream 5, where it becomes another beast completely. Okay, we came so close to this franchise losing its wheels, right?
Yeah,
we had the meta of it all, where we went Scream 3, where comedy was coming in and all the meta, and Can
I just interrupt and say I think Scream 3 is the weakest entry. I don't think it's a bad film. I just think it's not.
It's an obvious state.
It's just the weakest Scream film. It's not a shit film. It's just the weakest of the.
It's not the weakest. I'd argue 5 is the weakest. 3 is underrated.
I don't think it is. And this is what I want to discuss. I don't think 5 is the weakest because it's essentially a reboot point, because we have to tread the same ground, and it's not 5's fault because we've just done it in 4. You know what I mean?
I just think 5 is just way too. Can you be too meta? Because it's pretty overly.
I don't think it was meta in your face, look at us, we're parodying ourselves way. It was meta to the point of where Scream was when it came out. We have lived at that point 20 plus years of Scream setting the standard for horror movies, for slasher movies, not horror movies.
When you go into a Scream film, you kind of have all these expectations, there's going to be a celebrity opening kill, all of these kind of things that you think should happen, and then 5 kind of turn it on its head a little bit.
Well, no, I like the opening for 5. I thought it was funny. It pokes fun of itself in a manner that's appropriate for a Scream movie.
I thought it was disturbing. The opening of 5 was disturbing. It was violent. It was intense, and at the end of those at those intros, you get resolution. The person is dead. We see that character getting attacked, violently, breaking limbs, getting stabbed through the hand, the psychological torture, and then we don't get the payoff. It cuts straight to the next scene. There's
I didn't mean Jenna's scene. I meant I think I'm getting 4 and 5 mixed up.
You're getting confused with 4.
I am. Carry on. I got 4 and 5 mixed up. Sorry.
4 did that whole mock thing, and then we got ultra violent as well. But Scream 5 really kind of upped the violence stakes for this franchise. It got a little bit more graphic, and there were things like that. And it had to be a soft reboot,
Mm-hmm.
Neve Campbell at that time was still a bit, wary of returning. So, of course, they've got to do something to have the heavy lifting. These younger characters, especially in a slasher film, you always want to have your target demographic represented on screen, because...
Can I just say, though, before we go any further, that Cuba Gooding Jr.'s son is a very beautiful man. Like,
You can.
no, like
We agree.
there's just something about him. I'm like,
He is a good leading man. He is charismatic. He's funny.
We have
like,
all this next
he's
generation.
got that bouncy round ass. Like,
I mean, you said it. You said it, my friend.
yeah.
I think that Scream 5 was a cleaner reboot than Scream 4 was intending to be.
Look, I actually let's go back to 4 for a second because I feel like we sort of skipped over it. There was a lot of good stuff about 4. So there was
I love
really.
I just rewatched. I love 4.
There was a lot of brutal kills in 4. Like, the whole let's watch through the window while our mate's getting killed over next door.
4.
Like, there was some fucked up shit in that one. And like, we got Kirby. Like, we got some iconic characters. I think 4 did its job. It just came at the wrong time.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. 4 came at a time where no one was that interested in horror anymore. Like, it sort of was just, it always comes in waves, and it's kind of annoying for us as horror fans because, we have to rely on the masses to, buy some tickets so we can get our stuff.
And nostalgia, nostalgia in the last 4.
And I think 4...
all about nostalgia.
4 was a very solid film that just came at the wrong time. And it was just,
Here's my thing.
That's my opinion.
With 5, I think the connection with, Mindy and Chad to Randy, I think it's sloppy. I think it's trying way too hard.
It is.
Ultra meta. And then Mindy being a genre nut like her uncle, but to the next level. And I think it's just going a little bit too far.
But they needed a Kirby. This is the thing.
They needed Kirby.
They needed a Kirby. They needed someone to fill in the Randy shoes in the reboot. You know what I mean?
Well, in the reboot.
If this was going to be the last we saw of Nev Campbell, if this was going to be the last we saw of Gale and Sydney, we needed someone to fill that knowledge. If we weren't getting, because you've got to think behind the scenes, Hayden Panettiere was going through a whole lot of stuff. There was no guarantee that she was ever going to return to this franchise. But they have listened to the fans and they put those Easter eggs in there about Kirby surviving. Like, they know now. I think that's the thing with Radio Silence taking over. They know what we want to see, what the fan base wants to see, and they're willing to drip feed it into the storyline and not rub it in our face.
And I think that was smart because it always gave Kirby a door to come back.
But it also gave us. They took a huge left turn and did something the original franchise was never going to do, and kill off one of the 3 survivors.
Yeah,
So
actually, can we just pause for a moment and all discuss that murder?
No, because I've said what I said what I needed to say about it. It was
unbelievable. It was bullshit.
It was wrong. Yes, and
I don't think Amber could have pulled that shit off. I'm sorry.
You. Hold on, Luke. Because Steve brought up a very brilliant point on this murder, but I'm
Dewey, who had been he'd been the fucking knife fodder for every other movie, so he's full of more scar tissue than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that I just don't buy that Amber was the one who offed him. So maybe it was Roman, maybe it was Stu. I don't know.
That's it. Because I'm with you on that. I don't think
I don't think she had it in her. Like, I know she took the she claimed it at the end. She was like, I was the one who did it and blah blah. I don't believe it.
I don't
think anyone really believed it. And like, I remember the people I was watching it with was like, do you really buy that? And like, one of my friends said, she's like, oh yeah, no, she had proper mongrel in her. And I'm like, oh no, I don't think
adrenaline
Dewey.
So much
I don't think Dewey would have succumbed to an amateur.
But this is the thing. This is the point, because did he have too much bravado thinking that he has done this so many times and survived? He went to play the hero to save, to save these new girls, thinking that he was in no danger. And as an audience, we thought he was in no danger as well. So for that to then turn on its head and for us to lose a main beloved character of the franchise when we weren't expecting it mid-movie.
I'm completely fine with him being murdered, but do you believe it was Amber who took him out?
I think it could have been.
I think it was.
Okay, I'm gonna disagree completely. I don't believe it was Amber. So the actress herself, she is 5'3". I am 5'1.5". So she's an itty bitty girl. Let's go there. Yep. You guys have seen me. I am tiny. I'm a wee man. On stature,
let's be honest, Katie. Like, if it come down to it, like,
right, it's a me basically.
Like if it was a battle royale, I'd probably take you out. I wouldn't like to, but would. And like, I'm weak. Like I'm considered weak in the male world.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's a small person going against a taller person. Like stature-wise, it just doesn't make sense. Second of all, this is the 5th movie now that we've had with Dewey, and we know he knows better. Why are you going to make him do something that he does? He does. Granted, he wants to be the hero.
Okay. How does he constantly get, even in Scream 4, he got attacked, he got beaten to a bloody pulp with a bedpan because he wasn't expecting her to be there, even though he was going to stop her from attacking Sydney. Dewey's not
arguing that Dewey's not a useless cunt. I just feel that when it comes down to, I just don't feel it's too authentic that Amber took him out. I know that's the canon right now.
Like, oh, I got to get him in the head. Like, no, you don't. You don't. Yeah. Like that just feels
and considering the kill too was very like standing over and overpowering him as well. Like it just doesn't line up.
I just don't believe it because it's very different between 4 and 5. Okay, like you're not expecting someone to come behind you and hit you in the door, like in the head with a bedpan, but to go back purposefully to do a headshot, it feels very like no, that's too. And then to take your time shooting, like if he was gonna do it, he'd just go walk right up and shoot him. Like it's just very set up.
I don't know because at the end of what movie are they going head Dewey, head Dewey? He knows that he has to shoot him in the head.
Yeah? Right, but I think if he was really going for the headshot, he'd go right up and shoot it.
If you rewatch this kill scene, she takes him by surprise, and that's the reason she gets him.
I'll watch it again, but from my recall, it just felt like a very physical fight.
And he's in shock, which allows her to get the upper hand. It's not a strength thing. It's a distraction because it's Gale.
I don't know. I still don't think she could physically do it. Even with the shot.
Look, if you watch it back, he kicks her ass. He kicks her ass in that hallway. But the minute that he's not expecting it, like in Scream 2, like in Scream 4, he gets attacked.
I don't know. I just, even with being
anyway, we can really argue this point for the next 7 hours.
No. Look, I completely see both sides. Like, I think, Steve,
I'm willing to give it that conceit. You know?
Yeah.
I'm more on board with it, with the angle of maybe it's not Amber.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, that's where I was going, though, is that there might be a future reveal, but like, you know what? It was someone else helping them at the time.
I asked you guys a question.
And maybe it wasn't Amber, and Amber was happy to carry claim the title.
That I can wrap my head around. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Or Amber doing it.
How do you guys feel about the Billy Loomis of it all in Scream 5? Because a lot of people are like, what a cop out.
I will take Billy Loomis all day, every day. Every day.
I would completely take multiple cream pies from Ski Ulrich, but I accepted that she was a bit loopy, but I didn't like that it carried on even into 6, and it just started.
Yeah.
It wasn't. It lost its momentum.
It lost its momentum.
They started with something, but it ran off the tracks.
Yeah,
let's move into 6.
I agree.
Let's move into 6 now because it was meant to be, the middle of a new new trilogy. It was meant to be, the turning point. Scream 6, we got Kirby back. Amazing. We got an original character because we weren't getting Nev. That Nev Campbell was done. Out, finished. Everyone was happy. Everyone was like, "What a dirty bitch! How dare she ask for money?" Rah 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 rah.
No, they weren't. That is completely wrong. I know that there were some losers that said that. This is the same.
There are still people
that are saying that
they're
happy about
what's still saying it now. So
nope, I said, give her that money. She earned it.
You know what? Yeah, exactly. You know what? Everyone who's making money from the franchise is because of Nev. Like, Nev's the one thing that's consistent. She's the one strong thing that's been
even when she's not there.
6. And you know what? I think 6 really lacked her presence. I'm sorry to say. I love 6. I think 6 is a great film.
Yep.
But
I think that Nev should have been there.
All right, I'm going to ask Luke the question that I asked you before the show. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we have been trying. So not we. In each, and I haven't dropped this on Katie yet either. In each trilogy, or what was going to be a trilogy, the only trilogy completed we got was the first 3. Yeah. The second installment.
Was 3 really what they wanted though? Too? No. It had to be
the second installment. We always lose a core character, right? We lost Randy. If you remember correctly, around the time of Scream 4, the big thing was Courtney wanted out. She wanted out. Yep. She didn't want to do Screams anymore. Would we have lost if this, if that trilogy had continued? Would we have lost Courtney in Scream 5? And is that why we lost Dewey in Scream 5?
I would have preferred it.
I don't know. I think that losing Dewey has more gravitas than losing at that point.
I think Courtney, like all of us, we've all had jobs where we're like, I'm done with this and blah, 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 blah. And they kind of have this like luxury of like not having to work at that job every day until it makes you want to just die. Literally. I think she has come back to the point, like she's had so much fun with Scream now.
Because
like when people used to,
I think that's because of Scream 6. Because Nev wasn't there and Gail got her dues. Gail got her chase scene. Gail got her first phone call from Ghostface. Like Gail got to be.
I'm gonna dial it back to even Scream 3 because there's people posting shit in Twitter. Like if ever you think you have a bad day, just remember Courtney Cox's hair in Scream 3, and she's the first comment on there. What the actual fuck? And like she's actually made a joke video after that, like cutting her French while
and she's doing them constantly now. She's doing Ghostface videos quite constantly now. So
I think she's found the love. Like, there was a lot of money in Friends. There probably wasn't as much money in Scream, but I think she's sort of, Gail Weathers, I think, is going to probably go down more than her character as Monica, in a way.
She's
at the
integral to this plot now that it's only 2 of them left,
I think if it had been Dewey over Gail to survive, I think we would have gotten a very different 6. Because can you imagine Kirby and Dewey working together along with?
No, I don't think I think I loved Gail and Kirby's banter and like
I did
that
too,
was
but
amazing.
I wanted more of it actually. I think they needed to. I think they needed more Gail and Kirby. I think Kirby and Gail needed far bigger parts in 6. I get why they weren't that huge part because they were sort of, at that time too, the whole series was going and the, Jenna Ortega, other chick that got fired.
Melissa Guerrero.
Direction. That one.
And I think that what's going to happen now, because we're not at Scream 7. We're at the end of Scream 6. Yeah, we've got a resolution for the sisters. They can go. You know, their storyline is done. They're not necessary to the plot. But huge spoiler alert, and it's not really that huge because Skeet Ulrich said it in public. The treatment scripts that he got, he got the script for Scream 5 and he got 2 treatments for the sequels. The third sequel would have Sam succumbing to her mental illness and becoming a killer.
I think that's a cop out. That's
I think
terrible.
it is too. And
I don't think that's fair to her either.
No, listen, I don't agree with what they did to Melissa Barrera because of her views. I don't agree with that. However, I don't think Scream 7 needs her. I don't think it was fair what they did. I just want to really make that clear. I don't think it was fair what they did to her.
No one does.
But I don't think her character is necessary for 7. I think it was tied up very nicely in 6, and I don't think it needs to continue.
Yeah. But in the future,
I think it would be great. Yeah, I think it'd be great to have the girls back later if they do an 8.
I don't think
we are definitely getting more because the deal that Nev signed, I believe, is a trilogy deal. You know, she's getting that Jamie Lee Curtis money this time around.
Yeah, good on her.
She deserves
and
it.
I think it'd be great to have the girls back, but also, like as you were saying, like I think at the time, like their story's sort of tied off now, and it's good that we've got the twins coming back into 7 to sort of cross over from 6 to 7 again, because you know we didn't have
take us back to a more Sydney Prescott related story, which is what they're saying. Yeah. This is going to be squarely a Sydney Prescott story, so it's going to deal with everything that's happened before. Yeah, will be a part of this movie, which is why we're getting these killer actors back in some capacity.
Guys, now maybe
on the show.
No, just wait a second. Maybe she was a slut, just like her mother.
Now, we discussed it because a while back. I don't know if you remember, but there was a casting notice for a movie/TV series that would star Hayden Panettiere's character Kirby Reed as she profiles serial killers.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
What is this possibly happening?
This is possibly happening, and possibly the reason that we're not seeing Kirby yet, because it's meant to be a spin-off from Scream, so they have to have a reason to spin it off. Something is going to happen in this movie that is going to twist things a way that we're not knowing. And I don't know if I'm giving them too much credit, but I don't think I am, because Kevin Williamson's back is at the helm this time. Yep. And every time he has taken the property, he's taken it in a different way. I don't think we're going to see Scream in Hollywood again.
Well, he's a brilliant writer. Like even what he did with I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like that was Lois Duncanson novel, which was there was what was her name?
Lois Clark Duncan.
There you go. It wasn't a slasher. That novel was just like about the angst of like, you know, people who had done something bad and dealing with it. And, you know, there was some, you know, bit of conflict in the end. But like what he did with that script, and I think that film came across like amazingly. That was, in my opinion, the best Scream clone that came out during that era. It just hit every mark, and that chase scene with Sarah Michelle Gellar and the killer is probably one of my top 3, or probably probably number 1 of all the chase scenes of a final girl with a killer, because it just hit every mark. And
okay, I'm just throwing this out there. I got her name wrong because I just double checked myself. It's not Lois Clark Duncan. Just throwing it out there.
It's not. What's her name?
It's Lois Duncan, but there's no Clark in there.
It's Lois Duncan. Okay, just throw a Clark in there, babes.
So no, it's all right.
I'm just correcting
for
myself.
Scream 7. I'm predicting we are going to get a visual manifestation of generational trauma / PTSD, because being the child of Sidney Prescott cannot be easy. And I am sure that
I honestly think there will be some kind of, I don't know whether it'll be visions or like there'll be like old footage
that's where I was going. I think we're going to be pushed into psychological horror a bit more.
Yeah, and I think the fact that Emma Roberts' name's being thrown around, and I don't think that's a coincidence that they're just throwing her name around and putting, like, there's a lot of promo around her being in it too. I think there's going to be something there that's like a backstory that we've never heard before, and we're going to get it in part 7.
All we're getting, like we were talking about, there was a lot of controversy about the Maureen Prescott ghost / manifestation vision kind of thing in Scream 3 because, you know, it's an off-putting thing. But in the context of Sydney recounting her life, we've had these kind of vision things. They're not saying that she's having a mental break or anything like that, but her seeing these characters and seeing these people that have had an effect on her life while she's recounting the story kind of lends us a bit more to the Laurie Strode PTSD story that we, you know, where she was seeing stuff that had happened to her. Do you get what I mean? I get
it.
I don't think it's going to be as straightforward as them being real alive killers. Not in this.
No.
I think there's a big twist coming, and
like if you survive like, you know, multiple serial killer attempts on yourself and all your friends have died each time, you'd probably have some kind of, you know, mental flashbacks of these people. Probably.
And if she's talking about her mother dying and then we get to see Roman and Billy and Stu killing Maureen, you know, that's another level of it makes this movie franchise something else than what it's.
And do you reckon there may be a scene of, like, you know, Roman maybe even interacting with Jill?
Well, you know,
I don't know. I'm not jumping on that bandwagon yet because
I think Emma's in it.
Out there too long, and I think it's too obvious now to do it. There's got to be a twist some way. I don't believe that. The only person that I believe could and maybe is alive is Stu. I don't like Emma Roberts isn't alive. No. Roman isn't alive.
No,
there's no way.
Yeah, no, they cop gunshots.
Right.
Like,
and here's the thing: with Scream 6, you got the red herring right at the beginning. Like, here's your reveal. Here's Ghostface. Like, we're showing you exactly who they are.
I feel like we're due for another huge red herring.
Yeah, that's where you caught where I was going.
I'm excited by that. That's why I don't want to know anything else. I don't want to know anymore.
As we've discussed off air, they're not going to announce Matthew Lillard and the dude who plays Roman without it it's not going to be what we think it is. Like, you know, they want us to think, oh, they're back. Like, it's not going to be
Stu's alive. Like, it's not going to be that.
They're also not going to cast these two legacy characters and make them completely someone else. We're too smart for that.
But that's why I was talking about the Kirby Easter egg, right? They gave us that before they gave us Kirby in the next film. Are we getting this now without Kirby? Because something else is going to be revealed at the end of this film that will push us into the next one.
Well, even Kirby mentions Stu Macher in 6, like, if you believe that.
Exactly. It's been an Easter egg. I think that if it is a psychological, you know, a retelling or something like that, and then at the end we get the reveal, like, imagine what that would then do to Sydney for the next film.
Mm-hmm.
You know? They're saying that this is going to be a Sydney Prescott character-based story.
I realized too that we skipped over once we got to part 4, really. Like, it was Jill and the hanger-on. What was his name? That Macaulay Culkin's cousin or whatever.
Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie. So we didn't actually talk about the killers in 5, which was Richie and Amber.
Which was a little bit, pretty much.
Well,
Yeah, and then
let's become
which
a motive.
led into sex because Richie's family was the ones that everyone's a serial killer in that family.
Well, you know what I
Well, that was
noticed,
her
Luke?
motive. That was Debbie Salt on acid.
When I was looking, because I knew we were going to be discussing motives today. So when I started looking at it, I realized every motive, 1 through 6, the motive is either revenge or fame. There's no other motives. It's either I want to be famous or you messed with my family, I'm going to kill you.
Or I just enjoy killing people, like most serial killers.
That's not really a motive, though. Like, being a psycho is one thing, but but the main motives, like they say, like, I want to be famous. You killed my child. You killed my. You messed
Okay,
with my mother. Like,
so
it's
Billy's
really
motive was. So let's go through all of
Revenge.
them. Billy's motive was revenge.
You broke up my
He-
family. It was revenge.
Yeah. Stu
And then-
was completely just tag along because he just obviously enjoyed carnage.
You're going to count
Okay.
his motive as Billy's motive. It's the
Yep.
motive of revenge.
And then you had, Debbie Salt / what was her name
Mrs.
again?
Loomis?
Makes
Mrs.
Revenge.
Loomis. Was it Nancy? What was
It
her
was-
real name?
No, just Mrs.
Whatever.
Loomis.
We're just going to go with
Mrs.
Mrs. Loomis.
Nancy Loomis
Mrs.
is not real.
Loomis. Yeah. So she, Nancy Loomis. Look, she, was a complete revenge thing, and Mickey was there for the fame. So
Right.
that's your first fame.
Revenge and fame. Yep.
Then
Roman.
Jill wanted the fame.
No,
Jill,
you're missing Roman.
Oh,
You're
sorry,
missing Roman.
sorry, Roman.
Roman was
Roman
good.
wanted revenge.
He wanted revenge and
And to be
fame.
famous.
Yeah, and he wanted to be the new Sydney. Then obviously Jill wanted to be the new Sydney, and
Fame.
she wanted the
The
fame.
hanger-on.
And Charlie was a hanger-on, like whatever his motive was.
It's Stu and Billy.
He
It's
was
Ricky.
home alone, or his cousin was. And then you got, part 5 where Richie. Well, what was Richie's motive initially?
They wanted to be famous. They wanted to make their
wanted to
own
be
movie.
the
They
Richie
wanted
and
to-
Amber. Yeah. And they were just
Amber
fucking nuts.
Amber lived in Stu's house. She was obsessed. She's like a mega fan.
They
That's-
wanted
they
their,
were fans-
they wanted
They
their
were
own
fans
stab
of the
movie.
series, and they wanted to take control of the series and become their own stab. They
They wanted
wanted
to
to become
start their own
fame.
franchise.
They wanted
Yeah.
fame. Yep.
Yeah.
And then
And
6.
then the Killers and
revenge.
Scream 6. Revenge.
We're all related to Richie, which I think was a bit weak in the end. I didn't like the daughter coming back from the dead. I thought she was a useless.
That was a
cunt.
step
I
too
didn't
far for me.
believe-
Yeah,
I didn't
could've-
believe her
I
as a
didn't
killer either. I didn't
see
like
that
her
one
little
coming.
pudding
I
face.
had Ethan pegged. I knew it was him.
Yeah.
It was just way too
Yeah.
obvious it was him. The detective started to, like, midway, I'm like, you might be involved somehow.
I knew he was involved when they said that Kirby was crazy and stuff. I was like, no, I don't actually.
Yeah,
think
that's
he
where I
is.
got it too. It's like, no.
That's when I was like,
Yeah.
nah, okay, he's involved, and I didn't
see
catch
Quint,
the
though.
family connection.
I didn't catch Quint, though.
I didn't catch the family connection
I caught it,
until
when I caught it when the daughter died and he said, all my children are dead. I was like,
But he still had a
Ooh,
wife.
that's a good point. That is a good
Yeah.
point.
I was
I
like,
caught,
oh,
caught it with the Kirby thing, though. I caught it with Kirby.
But
It's you, bro.
the other one
And this
wasn't
is
even
like-
dead, so he, it was kind of
it's
odd.
all a red herring.
But
Yeah.
Ethan had a different last name. That's why you didn't connect him and the detective. It's
Yeah,
Landry
I
and
got
then
it.
Quinn Bailey and Detective Bailey. So it's like,
Yeah, it was a slip with him. I get it.
So and that's what, when we're talking about people going, oh, Sydney's going to be the killer, or Gail's going to be the killer, or
they
or
can't.
Kirby's going to be the killer. I don't think that will
No.
ever happen because they
No.
respect these characters too much.
Yeah, no.
Now-
They've been through too much of this that would be a huge middle finger to the
It would.
people that have invested in these characters, that they've survived so much stuff that now they're the perpetrator. No, it will never
again,
happen. Gail will
don't-
never be the killer. Dewey was never going to be the killer.
Nope.
Sydney will never be the killer. Casey Becker was never going to be the killer.
Despite everything they've been
I
through,
don't think
I don't. They're hard in a way that they have to be, because you have to be tough to be, like, keep reliving this. But they're not
And
so hardened that they're gonna get angry and kill.
No.
But this is what we're
Why
going
would
to
they
see. I
hurt
think
people that are
we're gonna
innocent?
see. We're going to see the result of all of this on these women. We're going to see the result of 30 years of terror and, victimization what that does to a person and what that does to the children that they raise.
I don't doubt that Gail's going to be a bit fucked up in part 7 because, like, she got hurt in part 4 pretty bad. But what happened to her in 6 as well?
Oh, it was a shoulder wound. It was just a shoulder wound. I watched it.
No.
I watched it started.
No, but
Mate.
6, she was really messed up. And I
Yeah,
think if
no,
Gail's
I
going to
don't
go
think
anywhere,
she's
she's
gonna
going to
be
go the way
okay.
of Laurie Strode. She's going to get paranoid. She's going to get scared.
She's going to
Shaky
hit the
alcoholic.
tequila.
Maybe.
Yep, she's
But
on the
I think we're going to get
margaritas,
Gail. I think we're going to get Gail in a different dynamic this next movie.
Yeah.
And I think there's room for that because what they seem to be doing now, as I said with the Kirby thing, is expanding this universe more. We have, Sam and Tara. They are an offshoot.
Yep.
They are a story that they could go ahead with. We have Kirby, who is an FBI agent now. Yeah. That's something we can go ahead with. Gail, Courtney's getting older. She's not going to be running around pushing people, like taking stabs forever. I mean, look at Jamie Lee. She was still doing it. But we can still use Gail Weathers.
She's still going to be useful. She's just not going to be in the same capacity.
We can, and I think she's still got a few more like chase scenes and everything in her.
Scream 2, that chase scene with Gail, I think, was iconic in a way. It was amazing. Like, it sort of topped the chase scene with Sydney in part 1. Like, and it sort of solidified Gail as one of the key characters. That's why I don't think we're ever going to see any of them being a turncoat and becoming a villain. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. And I think we're all on the same page with that. But,
this next movie does offer us, though, is a next generation that I think they really do intend to push through. Sydney has 2 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to children that are raised with this kind of trauma?
Here's my theory.
That takes this somewhere else again.
As a parent, I can see Sydney being so angry that she immediately becomes overprotective. I get that. I can see that. That's realistic, that Sydney's angry and wants to keep fighting and not let this touch her babies. Gail doesn't have the children aspect. So Gail, it's taken one too many blows. Gail's starting to get scared. Like, I'm getting older. I can't fight as hard anymore. I think she's going to pull back a little bit. She's still going to be integral because she is the brains behind it mostly.
And she lost Dewey too.
And
and I think that will make her more protective of Sydney and her children.
Right.
Yeah.
But I still don't think she's going to put the way
we didn't get to this point. And I want to ask Luke this question too. Katie and I talked about it. In Scream 6, when Gail's attacked and we get that awesome scene, we get Gail's first phone call with Ghostface, and she gets her big chase scene in her moment. She says to Tara and Sam, "Tell Sydney he didn't get me."
Yep.
Before she, looks like she dies.
Yep.
Katie and I had this conversation. Do you think she said that as bravado, as saying, haha, he didn't get me? Or do you think she said that as protection for Sydney? Because if Sydney knew that Gail was attacked, Sydney would come like she did with Dewey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was Gail trying not to involve
Looking
Sydney in
Sydney,
any
right?
element. Yeah. Tell him like if she was announced dead, it was nothing to do with a Ghostface killer because she doesn't want to involve
or not finding out too late. Finding out late when it was too late for Sydney to come and put herself in the line of fire when she has children. So
I think it was to protect Sydney. I don't think it was a bravado thing at all because I think Gail's past that now. Like I think she's
don't think Gail's too bravado. I mean, look at her scene. She's going, "Please hold," and then calls them to shoot him. Like she's still got that bravado in her. And that was, by the way, I loved that. Please hold.
But it shows too that she knows everything she's doing, and even her saying that after she'd been stabbed, I think she's very calculated in what she's saying. She's not saying it just to be like, "Oh, I'm so emotional. Tell Sydney I'm not hurt." Like she didn't want Sydney being brought into this new crazy.
Right.
So it's gonna be a ride. Like we've been talking about this for nearly an hour, and we could, I'm sure, talk about it for a lot longer. But I, for one, am going to try and stay away I want to sit in that cinema on the 27th and be surprised. I want to like this is my franchise. This will be my franchise, ride or die. You know, this is the one that we saw in cinemas. Like a lot of people, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street people, Friday the 13th people. This is our generation's slasher, and we are already at the point. Think about this, guys. We are already at the point where Halloween was when H20 came out. We're past that. We're past that 20-year point. This is the franchise that will age.
The 70s to the 90s. This is the 90s to what are we now? 2025.
Yep. This franchise, compared to other slasher franchises, other big, has kept its quality, even at its lowest point, which is, I think we all agree,
Part 3,
Scream 3. It's a better movie than a lot of best movies in other franchises.
And you know what? Part 3 had Parker Posey. I just can't.
Whether it's or not.
Yeah, she was
Parker's
the best
underrated.
character in that movie. I wish she was back, but you know what? She died. But you know what? All I've got to say after all of that is Omega Beta Zeta.
Okay, and I have one message before we wrap this up for Kevin Williamson. Well, 2, I guess. I love you. Don't fuck this up.
I don't think he will. I think this is a story he's been waiting to tell. You know,
And my rankings are 1, 2, 6, 4, 3, 5.
So what is it again? Actually, no. Let's do it again. You rank yours.
My rankings 1, 2, 6, 4, 3, 5.
Okay, Steve, go.
1 and 2, I usually watch as one movie, like Halloween.
Well,
I don't know why.
I was actually going to put 2 before 1.
Oh,
So you go first.
that's risky.
No. I love 2. I fucking love 2.
I love 2 too.
But I love 1 as well. So
okay, shit. 1, 2.
Okay.
6, 4, 5, 3.
Wait, say it again.
Ooh,
1, 2, 6, 4, 5, 3.
We're pretty similar.
I'm going to say 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 3.
Okay.
6 was solid, man. I remember leaving that theater and going, so good.
It was a good film. It just wasn't. It
ramped
wasn't
it
a
up.
Sydney story. It was a great.
But I think
it's solid.
It needed to do what it needed to do.
It did. It upped the ante, and it did exactly what it needed
And
to do.
they needed to prove to the fan base that the franchise could survive without Sydney in the film at all.
And I
Like
think
Scream
it did.
3. Sydney's in it for this much, but it's still like when she's in it, she's great. And this movie stood on its own without yes, it referenced her, and I think a Scream movie will always reference Sydney Prescott.
There's no
But
Scream
it
without
stood
Sydney
on its
Prescott.
own. It proved that there is life when written for the fans and written correctly.
I think
There
Radio
is life
did
in the
great.
franchise.
I think they did
Yeah.
fantastic with it. I would have been interested to see them work like hand in hand closer than they did with 6 on 7 with Kevin Williamson. I think that movie would blow everyone's mind.
But look, if it's true, we are at the start of another trilogy, and we will see where this one takes us. Who knows who will survive the bloodshed and where we will end up?
I know
But we will
that Mason Gooding has to go.
And
I
no,
know
the
he
twins are
has
dead.
to.
The twins are dead. There's just no
we
way.
will be back to
But
talk
he has
about
a
it.
beautiful.
Okay, Luke, we got it. You got to crush
And
it. We
He's
get
got
it.
a
between-
round, bouncy ass. Oh,
to see us through and to keep us satiated, we do have the I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel. So we'll see. We will recommend when that comes out.
And I have a feeling, because obviously Freddie's there, but Sarah Michelle was with him. I have a feeling that she's going to do some
She's
kind
not
of
in it.
ghost
No,
cameo.
she even said she was just hanging out because she wanted to see everyone.
Because she got in trouble. And it'll be. We'll definitely talk about that because I think it comes out in July when we may be in the States, Luke. So
Ooh,
might have
while we're there on last summer on
we might be able to do
July
a 3.
4th.
Well, it's not. I think it's coming out later than that. I can't remember when. I believe
on
it's
it.
July.
Well, why don't we, Katie, while you're here, why don't we all just get in a car and like do a lot of drugs and booze and just run over someone and see what happens to us?
Oh my God,
I'm gonna say no.
No?
But
You're
I
gonna
am.
run over a booth?
But listen, I am game to all get in a car, maybe go to the drive-ins even to watch this because that would be.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Oh,
I'd be
that's
down to see another
risky.
movie last
It
summer
is
movie.
July 18th. July 18th,
July
2025, which is my brother's birthday.
There you go. Well, we'll have to see. But we have to sign off now because we could talk about our favorite scary movie forever. But we will be back at you really soon on Uncensored Horror. Thank you for joining us. Make sure you join the conversation. Send us your theories. Let us know what you think.
Send us your ranking.
Let us know your rankings in the comments. We want to know.
Yeah.
Thanks, Luke, for joining us. Thank you, Katie. I've been Steve. And until Sydney Prescott screams again, this has been Uncensored Horror.
I make you better.